Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody, Militiaman and Crew here. Hey, I just want to reach out to everybody out there in harm's way. The United States is going through some really tough weather systems. We've had back-to-back systems coming through, and MMNC and Crew literally our prayers up to everybody, because it's going to be a rough night. We have some members that are out there in harm's way, and so everybody stay safe. Do what you're supposed to do, and as they say, batten down those hatches and get ready, because it's going to get wild. So God bless you all. Prayers are up. On the bright light, though, you guys, we have some information for the last 2 days. I'm going to go through a few things. I'm going to probably try to do it pretty quickly, but there are some articles that came out, and they're subsequently, they changed as time goes on, as time went on, because of news is news. It comes and goes. So I can't be here 24/7 to try to pop in and pop out. I just can't do that. But here's an article that came out. It was yesterday early. It says the federal finance sends Kurdistan region salaries for September, and parliamentarian confirms arrival. I think this might even be a day before that. Could be as early as Tuesday, or late in the evening, because they have different time zones. But it says an informed source reported on Tuesday, there it is right there, that Iraq's Federal Ministry of Finance will transfer salaries due for the month of September employees in Kurdistan region for Baghdad within the next 3 days. So they're giving you kind of a heads up. In this particular case, they said the payrolls for Kurdistan employees from the month of September and remaining amounts will be expected to be transferred during this week. So that means this week, because it says Tuesday. But we're going to find out how that works out. It goes on to say that they're going to begin, distributing employees' salaries. When they say distributing, that means they're going to have money to be paid. And distribution of money is what I'm looking for. So hopefully we don't see their distribution is at 1310. So that's the first one of that to address that same topic. It says a salary crisis affects the interests of the Patriotic Union and Kurdistan's forces, 70, end quote. It says, although the distribution of retirees' salaries began last Friday, that's last Friday, which they said they would do, that would be the 4th, I believe, a technical problem prevented the salaries from reaching the 70th forces. So something happened. They say, hey, hold up, we're not quite ready. They're going to need everybody on the same page to be paid. If in fact they're going to make a big change in exchange rate, they're going to try to make sure that everybody gets paid similarly at the same time, or as close to it as possible. Nobody needs to get slighted. Nobody needs to have an unfair advantage or anything like that. Or nobody needs to be thought to be getting a priority. They should be all taken care of electronically at the same time. Those cards could be loaded. Those text messages that we talked about, they could be telling people, giving them instructions with timestamps on them. I don't know, but that's probably the logic that they're going to be using, I would think. We're going to find out. It says the federal government regarding the distribution of financial resources, including oil revenues. So they're even invoking oil revenues as part of this process. Oil revenues reeks of the hydrocarbon law. That's what it sounds like to me. And if that's the case, they would probably have to have an exchange rate to value those assets, would they not? I think they would. So anyway, that's what these guys are telling us. The Forces 70 explains the reasons for the delay in the salaries of its retirees and confirms the solution will be within 2 days. So that's pretty big. So it's within a few days. Now it's within 2 days, and it's all focused in on around this week. So we'll see if it turns out any differently. If you guys recall, I believe we talked about they have a scheduled date. And that scheduled date is going to be talked about tonight, because the fact is that we didn't know what it was, but last night we found out what it is. It says the forces announced on Tuesday new details about the crisis of delayed salaries for some of its retirees, stressing the problem is due to organizational procedures of the Ministry of Finance and the economy in the Kurdistan Regional Government. but their referral to retirement requires them to be included in the list of retirees' salaries affiliated with the regional government. This gentleman says, I personally spoke with the Ministry of Finance, who assured me that the problem will be solved within 2 days. And he goes on to say that the spokesman says that the problem is not new, as it recurs monthly due to the delay in salaries for some retirees as a result of not completing their transfer to the government salary system. So if you're not on the system, you're not going to get your money. They want to make sure everybody's taken care of, and I don't doubt they want to do that. I'd be upset if I wasn't on, but if you haven't played by the rules, you're going to get left behind. Okay. They say that the problem began with the forces, it says, after their referral, which necessitated transferring them to lists of the regional government retirees, a step that had not yet been fully completed at that time. It could be today. It could be yesterday. The crisis is expected to be resolved in the coming days after direct intervention by relevant authorities. And so they're on top of it. That's what they're saying. They're at least on top of it. So yesterday, there's a article that talks about salaries for next week. And so this came out yesterday. So when they say next week, that starts on Sunday. That's just what they're telling us. Baghdad sends 329 billion dinars to Erbil, and the latter indicates a shortage. So Erbil is saying that they have a shortage in that amount. They go on to talk about the delegation Ministry of Finance and the regional government will visit Baghdad today, which is Wednesday. So we'll find out what they had to say, hopefully tonight, tomorrow. Noting that next week, which is starting Sunday, it says next week, specifically on the 16th of this month, the Ministry of Finance in regional government will begin dispersing salaries to employees before the election scheduled to take place on the 20th of this month. So they talk about two different dates. So they said next week they're going to disperse, at least by the 16th, monies for salaries. And then also they're going to have, it should be done before their Kurdistan regional government's elections on the 20th of this month. It says the Federal Ministry of Finance will send this amount to the region, so it's Taif Sami's office, which is remaining amount for the purpose of financing the salaries in full for the month of August. So they're talking September and August. I believe that they're also talking about from January to August, but we'll leave it alone. It says that the September 27, 2024, there was a date for launching the disbursement of salaries then, and it didn't happen, for employees in the Kurdistan region for the month of August. And they go on, if that's the case, I think they didn't happen, but the Ministry of Finance previously announced that they had delivered the list of employees' salaries for the list of employees' salaries for the months of August and September. So they have that scheduled. They also go on to say that they decided to pay the suspended payments from February to August, and it's scheduled to start distributing the salaries beginning of next week with the arrival of supplementary funding from the budget. For the budget from Baghdad. Okay, so that would start next week, and which starts Sunday. And then they also mentioned already that they note that next week, specifically on the 16th of this month, October, the Ministry of Finance in the regional government will begin dispersing. So the Ministry of Finance in the region is basically stating they have a date. And we've learned that they had other articles that talked about they have a scheduled date. Well, this particular article just reaffirms that they have it for the 16th at this point in time. And as of yesterday, it says the Parliamentary Finance Committee, Muhammad Nouri, confirms today, Monday, so this is all this week, okay, 2 days ago, the salaries of the employees for the current year are fully secured, so they have the money, and there are no concerns about delaying their disbursement. So this precedes what I just talked about, but this is giving you an idea where I got the scheduled date, and that's why I brought it up. It says that there's differences in timings, noting that the ministry is working to address the issue, and they understood that, and that's why we saw that the 16th date come out. But here's the part that sets that stage, is that the salaries will be distributed on the scheduled date. So they told you they have a scheduled date, and so now they've all, what I read first was a little backwards, you guys, sorry about that, but the bottom line is that scheduled date to them was ready for the 16th of next week. And it says, the whole quote is, salaries will be distributed on the scheduled date, and there's no reason to delay them, pointing out the ministry's commitment to pay employees' salaries and its readiness to face any future challenges. So it's good. So they have it taken care of. You guys realize that these salaries, the operational side of the budget takes care of that stuff, but if they're not getting paid, there's a reason for that. And the reason why has to be something to the effect of something is going to change. It's going to be a different system. It's going to be an electronic system. They're going to have to use most likely a real effective exchange rate, and that's the hope and prayer, because Al-Alaq has said that deletion of the zeros project still exists. They're getting ready to talk about some more things that you're going to find is that everything's centered around having an exchange rate. If they were going to pay these citizens at 1310 every single year for the tripartite budget, then why haven't they done it? Well, the answer to that should be quite obvious. Here's an article that calls it for the government completes the file for joining the WTO. So we had a lot of information in the past about Iraq having completed the requirements, and they're going to reiterate that topic again for a few articles. Actually, they're going to talk about it. It says that after important achievements achieved by the government in more than one file and sector, the turn came to go to the world and to confirm that Iraq has become a significant economic power and possesses all the qualifications and capabilities to join the World Trade Organization after completing all preparations for this. Okay, so again, Iraq, if they haven't gone onto the international community, onto the Forex market, onto any of that at 1310 or 1186 or any of the 000 ranges that their currency's been at for years, then why would they be going to do it now at 1310? It doesn't work that way. It's just not going to be that way because it's not a real effective exchange rate in our opinion. Okay, Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani set as a part, including setting schedules, so he's big on time, for a time plan to achieve the liberalization process and focusing on high potential sectors such as agriculture, industry, and services, which contributes to accelerating the organization's accession. They go on to say that all preparations were completed throughout the government team representing all ministries, which held an important meeting in Abu Dhabi under the chairmanship of the Commerce Minister Ether Daud al-Hurari. He points out that Iraq achieved all the requirements for joining the organization. Through a package of legislation and laws currently being discussed to reform the current system of laws to be in line with the requirements and controls of the international organization. So there was laws they needed. They got them done. Sounds like they've completed everything. They talk about including tariff rates and customs procedures. They talk about that. They state that all preparations were completed through the government through that package, and of legislation laws currently being discussed under the current system of laws to be in line with requirements and controls of the international organization. It says the efforts of the Kingdom in Saudi Arabia through its team in the organization, through coordination with it, as it is the main partner in Iraq's accession to this international organization. And we all knew that months ago, okay? But now they're just reiterating it. It says all ministries are working to ensure that the team has information that helps it join the organization, especially that joining the World Organization benefits Iraq in expanding free trade. Another article, they have another one that's out on the same day. It says that Iraq yesterday announced the completion of this file to join the World Trade Organization. So they're just reiterating the same stuff. It says the economic task that Iraq has placed upon itself has been accomplished, especially a large portion of them. Iraq has completed all preparations that would expedite the submission of Iraq's file to the international organization. And it says that we have covered the most important distance to see Iraq as an active member in which it indicates the world's confidence. Remember those videos that we've talked about? I talked about restoring confidence to who? The largest international financial companies in the world. And who else? Restoring confidence, it's to the people. It's to everybody. It's to the global financial system. It says that, which indicates the world's confidence in the Iraqi economy and Iraq's desire to integrate into the global economy after decades of isolation, and confirms the government's keenness to activate sectors that, again, they're going to talk about, such as what? Agriculture, industry, and services. The Development Road Project, you folks, is all about all of that stuff. Industrial cities, the service sector, right? Agriculture, imports, exports, taxation, all of that good stuff. And I think it's exciting. Next article is going to be good too, because it's about the World Trade Organization, and it's going to add to it even more, I think. Iraq announced the completion of its file to join the World Trade Organization, so they're still hammering it out, has accomplished a large portion of those. Iraq has completed all preparations. This organization is the most prominent in international trade. It says giving that the private sector has exceptional importance, eliminating barriers between member states, defending their trade rights, and finally reducing prices through the gradual elimination of customs tariffs. So everything's working for the Iraq in their best interest. That's what they believe, and that's what they're broadcasting anyway. It says we have covered the most important distance to see Iraq as an active member in it, which indicates the world's confidence in Iraq's economy, Iraq's desire to integrate into the global economy, the decades of isolation, and confirms again the government's keenness to activate those sectors that I just got through mentioning. Okay. Just a little bit of a reiteration. Basically, there's more attention just being noticed. It says that there's no coincidence for Iraq at this time to be being talked about with them going into the World Trade Organization. Why? Because they're getting ready to have a real effective exchange rate, and they're going to be able to do international trade, and they're going to be doing lots of things. They're going to be doing massive amounts of things trade-wise. I mean, think of all the materials that you have to do to rebuild a country that's been war-torn for 20 years. It's going to be astronomical. Okay, so the central bank continues to effectively implement banking reform plans. The governor of the central bank, you know who he is, Al-Alaq, which is a clear announcement on the beginning of the actual phase of implementing its strategies for banking reform. They're talking about the national lending strategy. This paragraph here is pretty point blank and clear. It's a little bit lengthy, but it says he drew a clear roadmap in agreement with the Oliver Wyman International Company. I love that when they keep talking about international, because it just gives you the sense that, look, it's imminent. Iraq's going to be going international. Okay, Wyman International Company to start developing the banking sector. This means that it has completed the first phase of the banking reform process, which is to draw up policies, programs, and standards and determine the main and sub-goals of the transition to achieve the completed reform and to achieve tangible and important results in the field of regulating the financing of foreign trade and regularization of the global financial system. Remember restoring confidence? Global confidence? Yeah. Okay. So through strict adherence to international compliance standards, building sober international banking relations with international banks and correspondent banks, we've talked about all of that, and introducing the local currencies of countries, other countries, you guys, remember that? All right. With important trade exchange with them to deal in their local currencies in addition to dealing in the US dollar. So anyway, what's the focus? Well, it's going to be on restructuring government and private banks now, and ways to do that to allow the existence of troubled and non-sober banks. So they're going to try to bring up those banks that were having problems. And then they start talking about their GDP, non-oil revenues, etc. And they talk about equivalent. They talk about equivalency, in this particular case, of 7 trillion dinars and equivalent to 5 trillion dinars. And they're talking about percentages to fill the gaps in financing and stuff. Basically, what's it about? It says it will contribute to the stability of the exchange rate of Iraq's dinar. And the recovery of the Iraqi dinar is inevitable. That's what they're talking about. So, look, this article about what the central bank is talking about, it really does look serious to me, and to be some sort of an announcement about ongoing achievements, accomplishments the central bank and government of Iraq have done and will continue to be doing more. End of the day, global financial system is fundamentally involved in Iraq's position in the regularization of the global financial system. That's what they're telling us. It's to me, what does regularization of the global financial system mean? Does that mean that the value behind the Iraqi dinar will be what was, or what has been told to the world to be stronger than the US dollar? I don't know. To that, Iraq will effectively be the savior and restore confidence to the largest banks in the world, to the international financial system that was mentioned at the UN Assembly meeting back in September 2023 by Al-Sudani. Apparently so. That's what it sounds like. There's been a completion of the first steps of the banking reform process. In my view, the next phase should introduce new currencies denominations. If they're going to have 3 zeros removed, as Al-Alaq said, you're going to need new denominations. But look, they never have had a 3-0 exchange rate to be supporting the global financial system. They haven't done that in 20 years, 21 years. So why now? They never will, as far as I'm concerned, with the 3-0 project. They're not going to be a savior of anything at 1310. So what will have a profound impact on the global financial system? In my opinion, what will have a profound impact is them at least reinstating their currency to what it was before. Going 1-to-1 just isn't going to cut it. Going to a full-blown reinstatement would do that. But also having a real effective exchange rate applied would do that. And that's the type of profound impact that I'm expecting. That's what I believe anyway. Okay? The central bank governor, he's got a job to do. He stated that it will still exist. Al-Sudani mentioned in the past that a couple of times that the dinar is stronger than the dollar. So keep all that in your minds, you guys, because that's basically where we're at. So anyway, we're going to wind down here pretty fast. There's another article called "The Association of Banks. More than 600 government institutions adopt electronic payments." Electronic payments are not going away, everybody. It's picking up speed, 100%, even more than that. They issued cards last year. The electronic payment systems have moved probably 9 times what they did in 2023. It says that since March of 2023, we've brought a tangible change in the use of this system, these electronic payment systems. Okay, it says the number of government institutions relying on electronic payments has increased to 600 government institutions are using electronic payments. So the infrastructure was ready with the support of the Central Bank of Iraq, with prior instructions and great cooperation between banks and the electronic payment companies. They're noting that this system has many benefits for citizens and projects and the government, as it provides security, it provides speed, low costs compared to transferring money, and to exposure to damage, theft, or counterfeiting. So they're giving you specific reasoning why they're doing it, what they have done. So they've got the e-government and their institutions doing payments electronically. 600 entities of the government already are doing it. That's huge. It's huge. There's no turning back as far as I'm concerned. The country of Iraq is basically embracing electronic digitization for the state institutions and the financial systems. Progress has been massive as far as I can tell. 2 million cards in the first year and 18 million more this year. That's how many more. So 2 million then, and then 18 million more. I said 9 or 10 times. It shows. It shows the progress like no other, as far as I'm concerned. Turning on their new exchange rate will just basically ignite the country into, as far as I can see, a digital revolution. And one the world is going to have to, they'll have to marvel over it, okay? Because that's what they're going to do. If they're going to be the financial savior that they said they were going to be, they're going to have to put up some value and based off real assets. And I'm assuming these companies like Ernst & Young, the Wyman, there's another one called Woods of something or other, everybody was working with, they do specific things and study countries' assets. Iraq is filthy with assets. All non-oil income, all their natural resources, all of that's taken into consideration when they figure out a real effective exchange rate, which we haven't seen. The original 322 was based off oil. It was not based off non-oil. It was not based off the taxes and at the borders. It was not the income derived from phone bills, electronics, sales tax, things of that nature. And here, lead into that, Prime Minister al-Sudani directs Tax Reform Committee to write draft on sales tax law. Think about it for a second. If you're in the state of California, you're just getting hammered with sales tax. The revenue stream that's wasted is massive. Oops, sorry about that. That's conjecture, you guys. They just pay a lot of taxes in the state of California. There's a lot of states that don't have certain types of taxes. So anyway, give and take. But in this case, Iraq doesn't have sales tax, and they're going to start taxing people for all the goods. Many of the goods and services are going to have sales tax on them. It's not unlike any other, real world, real economy. So it says, the advisor of the Prime Minister, Hassan al-Anbaki, I've never heard of him before, but the Prime Minister, Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, directed the writing of a draft law for sales tax. And as we will cooperate with international organizations, reeks of WTO, and international experts to write the draft very soon, indicating that the Tax Reform Committee's investigated matters in the fields of institutional building by changing many obstructive department managers. So they're going to clean up house. We're trying to create transparency, and we have an invitation to large companies in the field of automation to move to comprehensive and automated tax system. The process is not easy, they say, but rather includes great obstruction by those obstructing reform in general. Yep, you got a lot of political people that they don't want the cash cow to go away. They want to do status quo. Sorry, folks, but you're going to probably have to find a new job. Prime Minister Shia al-Sudani directed the formation of a working group to prepare packages to deal with the current economic and financial situation and to restore the investment tools in the Central Bank of Iraq, linking them to the size of each bank's deposits, and to intensify inspection procedures in financial transfer operations, and not to be lenient on pursuing speculators. They gotta just do it, who exploit the crisis that the region's going through. So he's completely 100% going after those that just don't want to play by the rules. So here's the cabinet article, authorizing the investment authority to amend the investment license. I don't know if everybody's talking about the investment law very much, but I'm going to read to you guys a little bit of information that I think is going to perk your ears, because every investor in the world that's going into Iraq will be affected by it. And that means you and I too, probably, because of the nature of what the broader picture of it. It says, al-Sudani states in a statement to the news agencies, within the framework of regulating investment, the Council of Ministers approved during today's session the issuance of Second Amendment Investment System Number 2 of 2009. It might not mean much to you guys, but if you were to cut and paste this article and you put it in and you look it up, you're going to get some of the stuff that I picked out, which was reviewed by the State Council based on the provisions of the Constitution and Investment Law 13 of 2006, taking into consideration the legal observations and what was stated in the minutes of the meeting of the Committee to Study the Amendment of Investment System 2 of 2009. I know that sounds kind of boring, but look, basically what are they talking about here? This law is geared for investors, both local, foreign investors abroad. The Second Amendment of the law was approved today in today's session. So let's take a look to see how this relates to the international level, at the international level, to me, and what it means to investors. To me, you guys, it's a good thing and timed accordingly. So here's a snippet that I found. It says the Constitution and Investment Law 13 of 2006 in Iraq refers to the primary legal framework governing foreign and local investments within the country. Essentially, it outlines rights and obligations of investors in the Iraqi government. It aims to promote investment, encourage private sector participation in various incentives and guarantees to investors. I like that. Various incentives and guarantees to investors, including the ability to repatriate capital. That's freedom of capital movement in and out of the country. That reeks of IMF Article 8 compliance. Okay? And trade on the Iraqi stock exchange. So I'll read it again. Including its ability to repatriate capital and trade on the Iraqi stock exchange. It is commonly known as the Investment Law number 13 of 2006 in Iraq. If you didn't know that, now you do. Because guess what? There's some more information. What's the purpose of it? The purpose is to encourage both Iraq and foreign private sector investment by providing facilities for establishing products, projects, and enhancing their competitiveness in local and international markets. Sounds like going international to me. It says key benefits for investors: capital repatriation, freedom of capital movement, Article 8 compliance, Article 14 probably related of the IMF, tax exemptions for qualified investments, exemptions from import duties for necessary project materials, access to the Iraqi stock exchange. Can you imagine what the Iraqi stock exchange is going to do when institutional investors like Citibank, JP Morgan, the largest banks in the world, out of Europe, everybody can actually, with their board members, when they change the value of their currency and adjust their stock market, the place is going to be on fire. It's going to be huge, I think. That's my view anyway. It says governance. The Commission is responsible for reviewing and approving investment applications. So the Council of Ministers resolving these disputes between the Commission and other authorities. That's what they're going to do. So basically the Council of Ministers, who we've been talking about a lot, have been in the news with Al-Sudani. He had, 2 COM meetings in one day yesterday, which is unheard of. It might have been the day before, but I think it was yesterday, to be fair. But you guys, look, you can see where this is headed, and you can see that what they're painting a picture of is Iraq is imminently going into the international world. We had numerous articles about the WTO. We already knew they had completed the requirements, but now they're hammering it home again at this stage in time that they're, gearing to go international. What are we waiting for? I think what we're waiting for is the exposure of the 2024 tripartite budget. Why? Because it's got components in it that are for amendments for what? Investment to pay for the development projects. That's where we are today, you guys. Thank you for being with me. Please, if you like the content, hit subscribe. And if you'd like to help us out, we have PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, the usual. But also remember, you guys, keep in mind, again, we're still MMNC. Our prayers are out tonight for those in harm's way. God bless. Be safe. Thank you. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.